I'm Michael Fox, and this is the Prospector Podcast, and we are live on location at the current Trends in Mining Finance Conference in New York City, put on by the New York chapter of the SME, and I am joined by Kitt, the President and CEO of Western Alaska Minerals, or as we're now going to refer to it, Alaska Silver. You just underwent a name change, so how and why did that come about?
Well, glad that you remembered that. That was good. It's been very recent, actually April 23rd. So we thought about it for the last year or so, and it really shows the emphasis that we're putting on the high-grade silver at our Water Pump Creek deposit. A number of our large shareholders, and actually one of the Swiss-German shareholders we have started twisting my arm about a year ago. Finally decided that was a good idea, so we started a rebranding to Alaska Silver. Glad we did. It's very helpful to have silver in the name because it's both important to us and our deposit, and silver prices seem to be doing very well lately, and from an investment standpoint, it's a little easier for the investors to find it. So we're happy we did.
Yeah, I think it definitely gives a better perspective of what the company's all about and what you're doing. So, with that in mind, exactly explain what the company's all about and what you're doing.
Okay. Well, we have first of all, we have two resources at our Illinois Creek project that's located in Western Alaska. Flagship and our focus is Water Pump Creek, which has a very, very high grade. It's a silver equivalent grade of 980 grams per ton. I do want to say it is a polymetallic deposit, so silver, zinc, and lead. And that is the highest grade silver equivalent of really any of our peers in the business. Our friends at Agentis Capital put out a report a few months ago and did a filter to look at silver companies that are non-producers but have a discovery, have a resource. And there's only 6 that have a deposit that's larger than 60 million ounces of silver equivalent and a cutoff grade of higher than 200 grams. And of those 6, we have the highest grade. So we're very proud of that.
It's always good to be number one, isn't it?
Well, it's got to be number one somewhere. And so grade is really grade. Most people, when you get in and start looking at the business and different companies, you can pull together a good team. You can do certain things, but a few things you can't change. And one is the jurisdiction where you're located. That's where you are. And the other is grade. Mother Nature gives you the minerals. Our job is to find them, and we're very blessed that this is a very high-grade deposit.
Yeah, I'm often reminded of one of your chief consultants, Dr. Peter McGaw. He's constantly "great is king, great is king, great is king." That's been drummed into my brain all the time, and I suspect that's why he's a consultant on this project. Is because great is king.
Yeah, Peter likes it very much, and timing is everything. So we worked on getting Peter out to the site, and then COVID came along, and so that delayed things. And then so finally in 2021, he was out giving a short course on site to our technical team. And while he was there trying to explain what a carbonate replacement mineralization looked like, we drilled 10 meters of Water Pump Creek, our sort of rediscovery hole, 2109, and that had 10 meters of just spectacular grade, and put it on the core bench, and Peter said, "That's what it looks like."
And that was it. He was hooked.
He was hooked. So that was his first visit. He's been back several times, and he's been very important to helping me and Sage Langton Stewart, our principal geologist, Joe Pekenbrock, our chief exploration officer. We all get together in a group and plan our exploration strategy. And so that's great to have that type of team.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent team you have behind you. So let's take a look back at last year's drill season. You're up in Alaska. The drill season is measured in a few months. But you had some pretty decent results last year, and that's going to help define where you're wanting to go and look this year. So let's start with what you found and then where we're going to go.
Yeah, last year we had a little bit of a shift. We wanted to prove out the size and scale of the carbonate replacement deposit system we have. At one end of the spectrum is past producing Illinois Creek Gold Mine. That's the copper gold center. And then 8 kilometers away is Water Pump Creek, which is the more distal, very high grade silver, zinc, and lead. No copper, no gold. So we did a test in between, a little closer to the Illinois Creek mine, called the Warm Springs target. We drilled 9 holes there. 7 actually hit mineralization. Some very good grades. We just need to drill more there to expand that. But after we made that discovery, we've decided to shift back to this year in 2025. The focus will be extending and expanding the resource at Water Pump Creek. So we're going to developing a drill program. Just went through the program last few days, and we'll be having our technical meeting shortly. And that will be called Water Pump Creek South. There's currently the resource is the southern limit of it is most likely a fault, could be a downthrown fold. And so we'll be doing a number of drill holes to the south of that. We hope to have about a 6,000 meter program. We'll be starting up in sometime in mid to late June. And the goal is to add more tons of that very high grade at Water Pump Creek.
Excellent. And how many holes are you anticipating drilling, and how deep do you have to drill to find these things?
Water Pump Creek South will anticipate the mineralization will be between 350 and 400 meters of depth. So we'll just divide that average 350 meters into our 6,000 meter program. It's we just go through the meters, and we don't know the depth of the hole till we're done. So it'll be a good program, and really excited to get started. We have 2 of our brand new heavy duty drills on site from last year, and that allows us to drill over 300 meters, sometimes 350 with a large diameter HQ core. And that's very important to have good core recovery in these carbonate rocks that our mineralization's hosted in.
Yes, and you don't have to wait for drills. These are your drills.
These are our drills. A couple of years ago, when we raised some good capital, we put quite a bit of that to work with new drilling equipment, vehicles, expanding the camp. And this year, we have no capital expenditures, so all the money will be going into the ground.
Excellent. So I was doing some mental math while we were talking. So I came up with somewhere between 15 and 20 holes that'll be drilled. So from where you stopped drilling last year and adding these 15 to 20 holes, how much further down the strike are you going to get?
Well, that'll depend on the results, but we would hope to test a 200-300 meter strike length going down dip, and then we'll be drilling off laterals on either side. Really just depends on when we hit the mineralization, what it looks like, and then after that, we just start following along and try to define it. So that really decides how many holes and where they go.
Okay. And having talked to Dr. McGaw in the past, I understand that these types of deposits, they have large clumpings of high grade scattered around a source. Have we found the source yet?
No, the source is probably most likely to the south and maybe a little southeast of the past producing mine. It's difficult to find the sources. They're usually a little deeper. It's most likely a porphyry copper down there, but you don't always find the source in these the most famous deposit is Santa Eulalia in northern Chihuahua, where Peter did his PhD, and it was mined 300 years, produced 1 billion ounces of silver. They never found the source, the porphyry. So you don't have to find it to find the high grade, though.
No, but it certainly helps to give you a eureka moment when you do.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Wonderful. So the drill program, the plan for the summer, is it funded, or are we having to go to the markets to find some more cash?
Yeah, it is not totally funded. We still have some money in the treasury from last year, but we want to expand. Last year, our program was 4,000 meters. We'd like to increase that 50% to get to the 6,000. So we will be doing a financing for that. The good news this year is that we will be having a parallel financing, both the full prospectus in Canada, and then for the first time, we anticipate having a full U.S. prospectus, so we can have free trading U.S. shares free trading Canadian shares, and that's the goal is really to expand our U.S. shareholder base in parallel with our Canadian and European shareholder base.
Yes, we're here in New York right now at the SME. Tomorrow, the OTC markets, which have just gotten a listing on, they have a one-day presentation where you get to introduce yourself to the American investors, and you're going to be there to do that.
Yeah, we'll be there tomorrow. Actually, it'll be a few more weeks or probably a month until we finish our upgrade to the OTC QX. So the wheels are still turning over at OTC Capital Markets, but our goal is to be on the QX listing and get our called DTC authorization, and we're going to do everything we can to make it seamless investing for a U.S. shareholder.
So you're being a bit of a tease here, introducing yourself before they can actually buy the shares.
There you go. Well, we can buy shares on the TSX Venture through Fidelity or a Schwab, but it's still not at the highest level that we want to have, and so that's the process. Everything takes a little bit of paperwork these days.
Okay, so if you find what you are hoping to find this summer, what are going to be the next steps after that?
Next steps after that, we will do a couple things. I'd like to start doing some preliminary engineering and costing, so probably an internal scoping study on Water Pump Creek, just to start to identify what the economics really are, especially with the run up in silver prices. Our resource was done at $24 silver. I'd like to start running some economic models at today's prices to see where they are. The other thing I'd like to do is probably this summer or early fall is redo the Illinois Creek gold resource. We have 525,000 ounces of gold equivalent at the past producing mine. That was done at $1,600 gold. So I'd like to revisit that, take a look at modern costs, modern prices, and probably increase that. And down the road, that will be a secondary target would be to expand that resource, but we're going to remain the focus is the high grade at Water Pump Creek.
Definitely. But you know what? One of the things that I admire about your company is you can take a look at past data and with fresh eyes find some new value to add to shareholders. And a good example of that is this fall when you took a look at some past core and found gallium.
Yeah, it's we know that, and this is where having Peter McGaw on your team is very helpful because he's quite a background in chemistry, geochemist, besides being really an excellent economic geologist. So at his urging, we started running gallium, which is not a common element in most assay suites. Once it became number one on the U.S. critical mineral list, we thought, well, we better check this. Gallium is found in two places. One is bauxite. The U.S. doesn't have any bauxite deposits. And the second is gallium is found in sphalerite, the zinc mineral, which we have a 11.3% zinc in our resource. So that was a very easy place to look. We were doing metallurgy in Kamloops, BC at ALS and ran those composite samples for gallium. And so we don't have enough numbers yet because we have to reassay the holes to have a gallium resource. But the numbers it concentrates very well with the sphalerite, well over 100, 120 ppm gallium. So it's not a economic driver, but having two critical minerals is very important from a permitting standpoint and getting interest from the U.S. Department of Defense. So we will be talking to them in the future, and hopefully we'll steer some strategic and critical minerals grant money our way for research.
Yeah, that would be good, but it's not economical, but it's a good credit to have on top of the silver and gold that you have on the property.
Yeah, it's nice to have, and it is very very much a critical mineral. Gallium is necessary to build what are called active radar displays that are the key to the F-35 fighter. Without gallium, they don't have the same active radar displays that they need to have. And my guided missile systems also use that gallium in their their radar displays. So it's a key element, and we'll gladly, in exchange for some grant money, we'll gladly just turn over our gallium to the Department of Defense and let them do what they need to do with it.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that the deposit had 11% zinc. That seems a lot higher than you would normally expect to find. Am I correct?
Yeah, most lead zinc deposits are in the 6 to 8% combined lead zinc. Again, carbon replacement deposits are usually a little bit higher, but this one is special. So we have right about 21, 22% combined lead zinc. Zinc is the other critical mineral on our list. And so it's a very important economic part of the deposit. So zinc is will become more and more in demand. It's used in galvanizing many applications in industry.
Yes. So drills will start turning when?
Probably mid to late June. We're still working on that, and depending on the regulators turning of their wheels to get our financing approved, when all that happens, we'll move forward, and that'll determine exactly when the drilling starts.
And as we say, it can be a bit of a short drilling season up in Alaska. When roughly do you have to kind of get off the land? Because it's
We last 2 years ago, we drilled through the first week of October, so you can do that fairly normal fashion. If there's really a reason to keep drilling, you're on to a discovery, then you can go later into the season through October with some water heaters. Canadians do it every winter, so we're still learning from our Canadian friends on winter drilling, but it's a little more expensive. So you do that if you have a driving reason to do it.
yeah. Well, you live in Tucson, so I guess you're not used to Alaska winters.
Well, I did live. Jonah and I spent 10 years with Anaconda in Alaska, so and we ran a geophysical program up in the Brooks Range 1 year on snowshoes. So we know what it is. It's actually a great place to work and live in the wintertime. It's just a little harder when you're doing drilling and you have water lines that you don't like to freeze up.
Yeah, yeah. No, water tends to freeze in Alaska temperatures,
There
that's
you
for
go.
sure. Um, if people want to follow the company, how would they do so?
Well, the best way is to check us out on our website under the new name Alaska Silver. So it's alaskasilver.com. And we'll be very active in a number of other things. Actually, the first week of June, we'll be in Anchorage at the governor in the state of Alaska is putting on a Alaska Sustainable Energy Conference. And so it really points to the new understanding of critical minerals in general, and energy. So it's going to be very well attended with the Secretary of the Interior, a number of other cabinet level officials. So it's hope to see a new recognition, as you don't have to go to Greenland for minerals. You have them right here in the U.S. and Alaska. So I think that's becoming the focus.
Yes, and Alaska is a very easy jurisdiction to be working in.
It's a very good, very mining friendly. Fairbanks was a major gold discovery known back in the 1900s, and of course the most famous is Kennecott in the 1910 to 1920 range, and that was really the world's foremost copper mine for about a decade or more.
Yes. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing the results as they come this summer. It's exciting times for the company.
It is very exciting, and we'll be letting you know as soon as we have our next extension at Water Pump Creek South.
Perfect. Thank you, Kitt. Alaska Silver is a paid sponsor of the Prospector News. The Prospector News podcast is for educational purposes only. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and are not to be taken as investment advice. Listeners need to do their own due diligence and seek advice of a licensed investment advisor.